Hello and welcome everyone to another new video on Book Tales by Pritha. Today's video is an impromptu video and this video I am making to keep a check on myself. Today's video is on all the books that I am currently reading and all the books that I want to finish in the last 45 days of 2023. So, without further ado, let's begin today's. The first book with which I would like to begin this particular video is a collection of short stories by an Indian author. Not much have I found about this book on Bookstagram or BookTube, so I thought of why not begin the video with this particular book. The book is Wadi, a collection of Manipuri short stories by Linthui Chanu. There are 7 short stories in this particular book. I have already completed reading 6. The book is extremely beginner friendly, but if you are an avid reader, also you will enjoy reading this book. At least I am feeling so. I had very limited knowledge about Manipur. Reading this particular book, I got to know much in depth about the taboos or the folklore that is associated with Manipur and Manipur's culture. I got to know that the 80s, the youth were highly attracted in Manipur with substance overdose. Also, I got to know after reading this book that in case there is highways are jammed, people in Manipur have to stand in queues in petrol pump as availability of petrol in the mountain areas becomes limited when the highways are jammed. So these kind of interesting snippets I got to know only after reading this book. To know much more about one particular culture, do check out these kind of interesting books. I'm sure you are going to enjoy them. The next book that I'm reading, I have completed reading only one story from this particular book. This book is 17 Turbulent Tales, Flight or Fright by Stephen King and Bev Vincent. This is the book. Now, just as I said that the previous book was beginner friendly, this book is not a beginner friendly book. Let me tell you this in the beginning itself. This book, if you have a fear of flight, do not read this book. This book talks about certain horrifying experiences that the passengers had when they were in flight. It talks about their fright. I did one story. The language is not at all beginner friendly. That's what I found it. I am yet to finish the remaining stories. There are, I guess, multiple stories in, there are 17 stories. I have read only one. So I have to finish this book before the year ends. That's my goal. So let me see how this book treats. The third book that I started in September end or October, I precisely do not remember. I read about 50 pages. It was thoroughly interesting. But somehow I lost the pace, and for the second time I did not get the time to read this 800-pager book. This book is a bestseller, and the book in question is Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. It is his autobiography. This book talks about Mumbai of the 80s. This story is interesting. It's descriptive. It's very, very gripping. And Mumbai happens to be one of my favorite places in India. So this is one of the book that is on my list to finish. But it's a huge book. It will take me some time to complete. But I'm sure those who have read this book will agree that the book is very, very gripping. The characterization I found to be very powerful, and I think these are the reasons that make good books bestseller. And this book definitely has all the ingredients to become a bestseller. I began reading the second book in the series Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This is Tales from the Cafe. I have read one particular story from this book. Now let me first tell you about the cafe, that is Funiculi Funicula, in which you are served coffee. It is a unique cafe where you can travel time, but there are certain rules. You have to sit at a particular chair at a particular time, and you have to come back to the present time before the coffee gets cold. Now, I had completed reading the first book, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, in 2020 during the lockdown. This is the second book in the series. It is an extremely popular Japanese series. I read the first story, which talks about a man who is raising his friend's daughter. The tales are interesting. The writing, as usual, like other Japanese tales, are slow, but you know what? The Japanese stories always are like slow burn. Towards the end, you get to know a twisting plot, which, as a reader, in majority cases, you are never expect. So this is one of the book that I intend to finish this year itself. There are 4 stories in each of the books of this particular collection. So if in that way you see, this is the 5th story that I am reading in the 2nd book of the series. Till now there are 4 books in this particular series which have been published up to now. Next book for me is a unique kind of reading experience, because prior to this I never read this kind of books that was based on wildlife. The book in question is Jim Corbett's The Temple Tiger and More Man-Eaters of Kunlun. This particular book is again a collection of Jim Corbett omnibus. This book, as well as the other books in this particular collection, talks about his personal expedition with tigers of India. So I just read about 20 pages and it's interesting, but till now I have not reached a position where I can say, okay, reading this book was really a treat. I am reading it slowly, and I hope to finish this book also by this month itself. I bought this book recently and in my recent book haul, and I could not control myself and I started reading the book because I had read another bestseller by the same author. The book was Anxious People by Frederick Backman, which I had read earlier this year. I seriously enjoyed reading this particular bestseller. Then I had watched the A Man Called Ove on Netflix. I have a small video on my experiences on watching that particular film. And the moment I got the 3rd book by Frederick Backman, the very day I received the book, I started reading it. I read about 50 pages and it is his most popular work. The book I'm talking is Beer Town by Frederick Backman. As I have heard that this book, in this particular book series by Frederick Backman, there are 3 books. This book talks about ice hockey in an unnamed location somewhere near Canada. Again, ice hockey is new to people like us in India, where cricket and football or hockey are more prominent games. The expectation of a city or a small village or a town from a particular game is the core content of the book. I found the characterization very nicely done. Unlike the other books of Frederick Backman, which are sarcastic, which has got strong characterization, Beer Town also comes up with very strong characterization and unique characters. The core, as I said, is ice hockey, and how people of a small town are so closely associated with the game emotionally is the point that is so well written by Frederick Backman in this particular book. I hope that this is again a thick book. I hope to finish this book by this year itself, because it's on my list to read all the works of Frederick Backman, because I'm seriously enjoying this particular author and his works. It's a month of November. I have already completed reading 2 non-fiction. This is the 3rd non-fiction that I was reading. I have heard a lot about this particular book, but I have not read it. So I began reading this book. Hope to finish the book soon, but till now I did not find the book at all interesting. The book in question is Courage to be Disliked. This is again a bestseller and a popular book, but frankly speaking, I did not find much interesting in the book yet. Maybe it is there later on. I have to read more to find it out. So this is one of the last books that I definitely want to finish reading, because I have started this book, and all the books that I mentioned in the video are the books that I would like to finish by the end of 2023. Roughly about 45 days are left. There are 7 to 8 books that I mentioned just now in this video, and let me see how much I can complete before 31st December. So wish me luck, and I think you guys are also having a great reading year. Do mention what are the books that you want to finish this year before 2023 ends. I will come back and see you soon in my next video. Have a great day ahead. Till then, tata and bye bye.